wanted to welcome D Cruz back because he got to just have a little trip back home to see one of his best friends get married. And the reason I want to kick it off with that is because it is so important that we're not so strapped to our screens that we can't go do things and that we take the time to decompress. And that was going to be my kind of main focus of the balancing of what we do with real life. Because while we talk about psychology in relation to managing risk and stuff like that, the old trade desks, there was literally like bottles of Maalox on every single desk, and I mean like so high stress a job. And if you're working towards it's being a part-time job for you or it is your full-time, for me I definitely spend more time trading than I do anything else. So that step back to take care of ourselves and go enjoy some blue skies every now and then, it's not a bad thing. So tell us about your trip and kind of like how you feel now that you're back and not like while you're rested.
Yeah, it was much needed, definitely. Glad to be back here too. So, I mean, it definitely resets everything, and yeah, I mean, yeah, it's important to take breaks, but yeah, today, yeah, I think we should really touch on kind of just how to control losing trades and how to set stop losses and whatnot as well in a way.
Yeah,
Just because I do
perfect.
see a lot of um, a lot of like questions on like, hey, like what is your stop loss? What's this? I think it's really key to kind of set your own in
Okay.
mind. Like, yeah, and then everybody's account's different kind of idea. Um, Instead of it's just even if you guys are following trades, like our entries are out there, and it's really important to kind of keep in mind, this is 1% sizing, and if you guys aren't sized 1%, then I think you should really look at the play and kind of um, have your own outing, if you will, because this will save you guys a lot too if you guys are following, say, a trade that does go red. um, I think it's just really important to kind of keep your own stop losses in mind.
Totally agree. Now, to go into that, it's you really have to be thinking about you're here for an education and trading. And yes, a lot of people are here to also get the alerts, and we have a great team as far as that goes. But it's really, really important as we're, helping you make some money and hopefully helping you learn how to manage risk, that you are learning what we're looking at, which is why I take the time to film the new traders boot camps. So you can have exactly on your screens what I have on my screens, because it's not rocket science for sure. It's pretty structured and it's all based off of volume and it's not oversized. So I would say, just to piggyback on that, you should never enter a trade until you understand what the person's looking at. And sometimes that takes a while to learn what somebody's looking at, or at least starting to get an idea. Then you undersize as you start to follow trades, not oversize. So if I'm learning a 5%, you're taking a 1%. If D Cruz is alerting a 1%, you're taking a half a percent, like tiny. Now that's hard when we've got smaller accounts, and I think that's where we've run into trouble. Is I have like I want to see that money fast, and that's the immediate gratification. But until you can see how we're looking at things structurally, which is listening to a stream, like looking at and get a decent idea of where our out might be, then you maybe shouldn't be in that trade, because then all of a sudden you're finding yourself slamming more into that position. And so asking for the stop losses is totally fine. Mine's really self-explanatory because it's all based off of Baker VWAP at the previous state levels. But it's also up to you to sell into strength, because there's been times where like I'm like, oh, okay, like newer traders, sell into strength here, and then my trade is break even and everyone else got 40%. Right. So it's not, you don't want to just be executing what we're executing. I'm showing my trades. D Cruz is showing his trades so that you can learn. And so hopefully you can also make some money, like I said, learning.
Exactly. But you don't have to wait until, we
Do not
sell.
wait for us.
Just
And
due to
and then
like the
don't get
main
FOMO.
right. Right. And then if it is a little bit too late, say we enter at 0.60 and then the trade's already at 0.70 or, 0.65 even at that point, anywhere from like, like 10 to 15% up already, it's really best to just kind of not take that trade and just try to see what we saw with the trade. if that makes sense, right? Or, just kind of
Yes,
be watching things
rebuild
on
it.
your own. Yeah, exactly. Just kind of rebuild that trade and be like, oh, well, like I could see how he entered right there, or, how they entered right there. And then we could, you could learn from that and try to build your own entries off of that. But um, the main idea of these
And Steve
alerts too
Lesson
are,
posted something
mhm,
that had that happen. He's like, I entered it and it was up 60% in 5 seconds. And that changes our account. It doesn't change your account. And it's really, we don't know when that's going to happen. That's the thing you definitely, I think people don't really, if we knew it was going to be fast, we would have been in a little bit sooner. And we're just like, all right, here's my trigger. And it went.
absolutely. And then, yeah, and then then we do TA and whatnot to kind of show you guys what we saw. And then it's not necessarily about, having to catch all of our alerts. It's more so kind of trying to see what we see and then building your own plays off of that. And then that's actually the number one way to actually be successful in the market. It's really hard to follow trades, especially 0 days. But if you guys are kind of seeing what we see, or maybe if we call a 0 day and you just play like a one DTE, 1 day, 2 day out, I mean, it moves a lot, moves slower, so you guys don't,
They
it
move
doesn't
well
burn you as
though.
much.
They're not,
Oh, they
yeah,
move
it's
really
not
nice.
bad.
Yeah.
It's, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Sometimes they move as well, or maybe it's like,
hmm
you know, on a 0 day, if the trade went well, you got 100% and you got 85 on a 2 day out expiration. So it's not,
Exactly. Yeah.
if the trade goes your direction, it's pretty close. And if it doesn't go your direction, it's
It's
way less damaging, way
exactly.
less.
Yep. Way less. So, if you guys have a hard time, making money on 0 days, even if we're playing 0 days, you could always just take a few days out. Even Friday expiration. If you guys are new and learning, I mean, I think you guys should only
Friday
really be touching Fridays. Yeah. Anything
and
like
not on Thursday.
right, and
Take
not on
next Friday
Thursday.
on
Yeah, then
Thursday.
then you take, yeah,
Yeah.
right, correct. For weeklies, I typically like to stop trading them on Wednesdays. I mean, I'll day trade a weekly on a Thursday, but I mean, it's totally up to like what the overall trade plan is. If you guys are looking to kind of hold a little bit longer, definitely, and if you're looking at the chart, has like a higher time frame setup and it looks ready, but it's we might be waiting on SPY, but you like say Apple has overall relative strength, and then you're kind of just waiting on SPY at that time. Sure, maybe take like a starter position. Don't size like full into, say you normally buy three contracts, buy one. And if you guys are buying one, it's all about timing the entry perfectly. So you got to wait for that extra confirmation. Don't take, those the like high risk trades. Take the higher time frame setup trades. Take those more confident setups, and where you see, kind of everything in motion. You see, say, volumes there. You see a nice chart setup, say like a nice flag, nice wedge, whatever you like to play, a break of a range, or even just at a bottom of a range with a nice bottom. You have something in mind and having an exit plan. And cutting losses, like, right away, that's really not a bad.
The exit plan.
Mhm,
When is the trade invalidated? So people ask me all
exactly.
the time about percentage. I don't look at percentage. I look at when is my TA, like my thought process behind entering this, because there's different types of trades. There's different setups. As a newer traders, you need to get your one thing that you trade the best and focus on that and get it better, 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 better. And we talked about like the C game trades and the V game last week, but you want to be
Mhm.
focused on one particular thing, meaning you're journaling, right? What was
Oh
the
yeah.
setup in there? Not just following the analyst. If you were following the analyst, what was the setup behind that? And we don't mind answering, what the setup was behind it. I typically, like, if I'm doing a look below and fail, I'll put that in my trades of, this is overnight low, look below it, recapture it, where a lot of people call that a knife catch. And if there's not confirmation of the fail, then it is a knife catch. And every once in a while I get too early on that. But that trade makes me more money than any trade ever, because as soon as it recaptures key levels, if you don't know what those key levels are, which is why I trade SPY off of ES,
Right.
if you have to know it's invalidated once, for me that would be invalidated once a 30-minute candle is underneath that overnight low again, for instance. If you're not journaling to know, just going through and looking at what your profits are to know what makes you the most money, that's the very first thing you need to start doing, because then you can identify that as an A plus or the like top tier setup.
Yeah, your highest
because
win
they have easy
percentage.
validations.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. And just, stick to those trades, especially in like, if you're red on the week or, you start off the week a little bit red, don't typically rush back into a trade just trying to, make your account back green. It's all about, patience and seeing a proper setup. And whenever I lose a couple trades in a row, I'll wait. I'll be extra patient for that correct setup. And that correct setup will, sometimes make up for those couple of trades, bad trades. So it's all about patience and kind of just letting things play out, letting the charts speak to you. You don't look for anything in a chart, you just kind of let it, like, oh wow, like, well, now we have a cup and handle, right? And then play that, but don't necessarily look for it. They just kind of, everything kind of plays out, and then it's just they'll reveal themselves over time. There will be some nice setups over time. There's not a setup every day to play, but um yeah, it's all about just waiting for that proper setup.
it kind of reminds me of dating, right? So if you're thinking, oh man, I really want to date with her, like bad, and it's like you put off that sense of like neediness, I guess is the word I would use. Can you get off me? What are you doing?
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
looking for a trade.
Mm-hmm.
Where if you're comfortable and you hold your own space, you've got, your life going well, and you have made, I guess holding the space is the term, you've made the space, you've made the room for the right person to show up. You're not stressed out, you're just living your best life. The chances of that right person showing up are much better because you're not putting off that, like, whatever, chasing. So we don't want to be chasing trades, like we don't want to be chasing, because usually that's when, right, I've seen this over and over again. When you're single, it's like impossible to get a date. And then all of a sudden, when you're not single, all of a sudden, you've got like five, you're like, dang it, why didn't this happen before? And it's all about the energy you're putting off trading and dating. So you do not have to be in a trade all the time. One of the best things you can ever do for your trading career is to say to yourself, okay, I've made my profit for the day, or whatever, or I didn't. I was not successful trading yesterday. I lost money. Today, I'm going to not even execute trades. I'm going to write down what my thoughts are as I'm thinking about executing trades. I'm thinking about entering here because it's a, journal. It doesn't have to be like a full written manual or whatever, but looking at overnight low. And then if I were taking a trade, I would enter it here and then write down what your invalidations are and what your PTs are, where you would be happy. So it doesn't have to be 100% on an option. It doesn't have to be 20 points on the
Mm-hmm.
S. What it has to be is what you're happy with profit wise. And
Yep.
sometimes that's
Yeah.
15%. If you're in one contract and it pops up and you grab that 15 or 20%.
It's
But writing it down,
consolidating those gains too. It's key.
typing it by hand, writing it is going to start developing that delayed gratification that is going to make a huge difference in your trading and possibly the rest of your life as well, because delayed gratification is
Oh yeah,
huge in your success, net out everywhere.
definitely.
So
We got
wait
asked
for it.
a. Oh yeah, definitely. We got asked a question. New trader said, any advice on how to deal with frustration when we miss a trade because of our day work or not being at the screen? That creates FOMO and frustration that we missed our entry by a few minutes because we couldn't pay attention to it. Okay, so it should be, if you look at something that just played out. This was actually NVIDIA for me yesterday. I have a prime example, and let me see. So I was waiting on, and I'll actually share my screen. And if you can't see the shared screen here, that's totally fine, but I'm gonna go ahead and just, I'll talk about it as well, just to just be a little bit easier. But basically, main thing is, I was waiting for an NVIDIA entry. And then I looked away for a minute, and then I looked back, and we had this nice green candle, right? And then I was kind of waiting for a pullback and didn't really get one. But that happens almost, every day. And if it doesn't happen once a day,
Yeah,
it'll happen twice a day. And then you gotta look at it like kind of on the bright side. It's like, wow, like that play, like that was my, like that's what I wanted to happen, and it
I saw
happened.
it.
Like that's a confidence boost. Yes. And it's just like, boom, next time I see this setup, I'll be a little bit more confident on that, and I'll be able to execute that. And yeah, no, I mean, whenever I was first starting to trade, I definitely, I had TA. I used to chart every night, and then I'd go to work the next morning. And I mean, this happened to me every single day. And like I said, if not once a day, twice a day, three times a day, even sometimes. But it's all about the conviction and what you're learning, and like, you're just, it's confidence in the end. It's like, wow, like I planned that out, and that actually happened. So that's a really really good, it's good. It's a good lesson to kind of learn there, and you can't really FOMO out of it. And you just if it does happen, the move does happen, you would wait for a back test, right? So every breakout has a back test
Exactly.
or retest. So you get back on the retest if you would like to join that, if it is still valid. But you got to
Well,
wait
and it's
for.
that would kind of like be being mad if
Mhm.
you were walking down the street and there was $100 bill there, and you're like, I wonder if I should pick that up. And then you don't, the wind blows it away. And it's that feeling of like, well, I don't want somebody to think I'm stealing it. But if it gets blown in the street, nobody's going to have it. So I'll pick it up and then see if I can find somebody who's like, patting their wallet, like, dang it, what happened or whatever. But that pause, you can't be mad that if you didn't grab the $100 bill's gone, and you wait for the next $100 bill. You cannot allow yourself
Yeah.
to FOMO.
Right. Right. You can't.
It has to be.
There's
As
a.
soon as you get that feeling of I missed it, you need to say to yourself, there's always another trade. And say like 50
Oh, there's
times,
there's a
handwrite it if
hundred
you need
trades a
to.
day. Mm-hmm.
There's so many. And like I was last Friday with Spaces, can't remember, something was happening. No, it was Friday before. I missed what would have been my largest trade of the day, messing with, I can't remember, it was something tech. Oh, it was because we had more than 300 people on stages. And I was like, this is driving me crazy. And that trade would have been about a fourth trade on the ES on one account. It would have been a huge trade. And I was like, damn it, I missed it messing with things I shouldn't have been worried about, right? The tech issues,
Uh-huh.
trade. But
Yeah.
I said it out loud. I said it on stream, and then I was like, all right, moving on, looking for the next one. Go. Right. So it's okay to acknowledge, damn it, I missed that thing and I should have been, more focused than I was, or whatever.
Oh yeah, and that
But
happens a
once
lot to
once
us
that
too.
entry is
We'll
gone,
be asked a question, or me on stream anyways. I'll be like watching
yeah,
something, I'll be
typing.
answering a question, then the play plays out, and I'm like, well, it's just it's
Yeah.
just kind of like, oh well, on to the next. But it in the end, it's like, wow, that actually played out how I wanted it to, and that's a confidence boost next time you see that with those indications and indicators and all your confirmations, you'll know to execute.
And what we're really doing with all of this is we're building up a repertoire of things. So the next time, and I've heard Decrew say that now, I think that's the third time. The next time you see that
Mm-hmm.
is a key piece because it doesn't repeat, but a lot of stuff rhymes. A lot of stuff, you start to get the feel of what the tempo of how the candles are moving, and you start to build the profile in your head. And that's why it's so hard to just teach a price action today is weird and whippy like we saw and all over the place. And I was talking about
Yeah.
how this reminds me a ton of 2016, where we're trading value area high, value area low, just back and forth, except the trade that took me 6 minutes is like a 3-hour trade. So I could be like off doing a personal training session, charts off to the side, it's not moving like this. So if you're in 0 days and you can't be in front of the screens, you absolutely need to be taking longer out contracts, staying the heck away from SPX, away, because if you're not a fast trader,
Oh,
SPX is going
absolutely.
to get you.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing with NQ. If you're trading futures, if you're not a very fast trader, it's a very thin market. If you notice, I trade ES and QQQ contracts in tandem a lot because I'm trying to showcase the differences. Like the QQQ contracts do move really well. They move better than SPY, but NQ can take out your stop losses so fast, and they're such large contracts that I'm like, I can have nice trades on ES and make options money on QQQ, but it's because I'm familiar with what the personalities are of them. And if you don't watch them, if you're just looking at candles and thinking a candle is a candle is a candle, you end up in trouble. You have to get to know the personality of that particular ticker that you're trading, because they do have their own personalities. And sometimes they wake up on the wrong side of the bed. Sometimes they wake up all rested and happy, right? It's the same as people.
Yeah,
So when you're
absolutely.
changing tickers, when you're jumping around because you saw one analyst is now taking Netflix, or another analyst is, over, taking something else, and you're like, I don't even know what that is. I guess I've looked at that chart some. If I am not pretty familiar with what the personality of that particular ticker is,
Oh yeah, I won't trade it.
I,
Mm-hmm.
I won't follow. or I
There's a lot
might
of
follow,
times
I might
where,
paper trade it.
yep,
I might look at it, and go,
prime
what is
example.
this? What does this one act like?
Oh yeah, prime example. You love BA. I won't touch BA. It is
Yeah,
blacklisted for me, and it'll remain blacklisted for me. There's
forever.
just yeah,
I'm
no,
I'm
forever. Yeah.
having a little separation right now from it,
Are
a
you? Yeah.
little
It
a little
just
time
moves
away.
really. It. I just every time I've played it, it's just like yeah, no, it just doesn't
Yeah.
work for me. So and that kind of brings me back to another question we got from Moose. He just said on voice right now, wondering why you play Netflix a lot. Well, I mean it's actually made me
He knows it.
probably
Yeah.
if I were to pull up my how it says PL, like your overall PL and your tickers, Netflix would probably be one of my tops, like right behind Apple. It's probably second or third. And Netflix, I mean, it's just, you find something that works for you and you get to know that chart. You don't have to play everything. I suggest playing maybe 3 to 5 tickers, if that. I mean, five is a lot, but you
5
could
is a
kind of
lot.
just
You should
look
start
and
with 1.
oh yeah,
1.
one, and that would be
Get really
spy.
good at it,
I would
and then
say
add a
spy,
second. Yep.
or and then spy. If you learn spy,
5.
you learn 500 other tickers, like in like in a way, right? Because it's five S&P 500, you have 500 tickers almost following that, right? So you
Well, and
just
it buffers it a little, so you don't
yeah,
have quite as much, when the individual tickers go their wild swings,
oh yeah,
you might not get wrecked as much.
exactly, yeah. And then especially if you play spy right, like say Friday, for example, like playing a few days out, but yeah, 0 days, it could be the other way. But yeah, no, I mean, I like to play Apple, Netflix, Spy, Q's, and Q's I just recently added, right? So, and this is over like 4 or 5, or this is my 6th year of trading now. So, I mean, I haven't touched it for, I haven't really, I mean, I've been trading Apple, Netflix, and Spy pretty much for like 3 years straight. And before that, I was kind of trading anything and everything, and then I was kind of like, well, why am I even doing
Yeah,
this, right? Because I'm even looking
right.
at tickers. I'm like, oh, I need levels up here, and I'm like, wait, well, why don't I just play tickers that I have levels basically that I've been respected for years? And then it's just you just and say Netflix, you get those mental levels as well, like Apple 150, like oh that's a nice place to either buy or sell depending on what market you're in, and it's just a mental top stop loss or mental level for you, right? So it's just you get better at playing individuals, you get better at seeing how they move, and it's just easier to kind of adapt. And going back on what she was saying, you don't have to play anything and everything, and something that may work for you may not work for another person, and that just goes.
Yeah, like I don't
Yep.
trade Netflix well. The only
Mhm.
time I do, and I, of course, during COVID, everything was going up or whatever, and
Oh
so
yeah,
I had
Netflix
made
is
some
yep.
made some nice mine and everything.
Hmm.
But pretty much, if D Cruz is trading Netflix, I'll take contracts. I'm like, okay, all right, because for me that's confluence, because he trades it well. And the same thing with Apple. And you and I talked about this a while back.
Right.
If I'm in Spy or Q's calls and D Cruz enters Apple, I'm like, yep, high five,
And
carry on,
I
we're
literally
good.
get that same thing too. I'll be in an Apple call, or like Nvidia call, and then boom, Cedar, BTO, QQQ, or anybody really. It's
Yeah.
just it's just if whoever knows that ticker, great. It's just boom, that's extra confirmation. That's awesome, and yep, and let's ride, right?
And that goes back to what you were talking about before, is
Hmm.
that you want to be thinking about upgrading your individual charting and TA skills, and have us be confluence, where one of
Exactly.
my favorite things is I'll have somebody who's been like, okay, I've been through all the new traders boot camps, I've really been working on my charting, I'm trading really small or in paper trading, and best feeling ever is I entered the same contract Cedar entered a minute before. That's what I want you to move towards, so that we're all working together. We're better traders collectively as a community if we're not just like trying to outdo each other with higher percentages, and like it's this we're working as a team.
Hmm.
We're not like trying to prove who's the best. That doesn't matter. There's plenty of money to
Exactly.
be made in the
Oh
market.
yeah.
The whole idea is the growth, and we use each other as confluence. But for me, if you go look at the new traders boot camp, I think it's from March. I can't remember. One of them, I've got a little summary on them. One of them goes through my list of what my order of priorities are. And the community is kind of low on that list, but it's on the list, where Twitter is not, right? FinTwit
Oh,
is not.
absolutely
There's
not.
any
Yep.
piece trading on
Hmm.
anywhere else.
Nope.
So I have my things that I think are the highest priority, which are all taught in the boot camps, and then. So I'm looking for multiple layers of confluence.
Oh
I'm not
yeah.
just looking for Oh, just the, the oscillator, the Fu Manchu. That one thing is not, I do not take entries off of any one thing. I
Exactly.
take them off the levels. And then D-Cruz comes behind and shores it up for me where I'm like, confirmation, good. I feel better now.
Yep,
And you
exactly.
guys need to be working towards that too. I mean, it's
Same.
really, really important. And not being in a rush, because this is a master's degree that you're taking right now.
Oh yeah, and it's like it's almost similar to doing PhD at this point. Sometimes, you know, it's
Yeah,
4 to I
Cruz
mean,
is
yeah,
Cruz is working on his PhD
6 years.
for
Yep.
sure.
Yep.
Yep,
Oh yeah.
exactly.
Exactly. And you know, it's
So
just yeah, you
don't
keep on getting
rush.
better and better and you know, there's always something new to learn. I mean, if you lose money, that's not necessarily a loss. You got to learn if you learn something from that loss, that's a win, you know. You're going to avoid that from happening again in the future possibly. And then, you know, it's going to
Well, my
happen
theory,
again
I
and it's
use the
just
term teeth kicked in.
Mhm.
If you're still making the same mistakes, you clearly have not had your teeth kicked in enough.
Yeah,
So
but
at what point,
eventually,
how much pain are you going to be toothless completely, or
yep.
you're going to like lose one or
Hmm.
two teeth and go, all right, okay,
Yep,
not doing that again. So you
exactly.
have to develop a pain response behind bad behaviors. And the visual of the teeth kicked in, I think, works pretty well. But you won't stop it until you've experienced enough pain, and no one can tell you how much pain that is. Bad behaviors can be following a trade blindly, not pulling up your own chart. So for me, if I don't have my levels marked, like D Cruz was saying,
Hmm.
if somebody enters something and I like the chart, but I don't have levels marked that like off of the visible range volume profile on the high time frames that I do, I'll drop some levels in there and see if there's anything that will allow me to still get that trade. But most of the time, if the levels aren't marked, it's going to take me about 2-3 minutes to mark up a chart.
Yep.
And by that time, the trade might be moving on well. Now I've got my levels marked, and the next time I see that, I can come back in and go, okay, this made a little bit more sense now that I've watched this, if it's a chart that's interesting.
Right. And then there's even times where, you know, there'll be whenever I was learning, um, and actually somebody there, this reminds me, somebody that I've kind of been mentoring actually mentioned this the other day. This is what they do, and let's see, I was seeing if they're in here, but they are not. But yeah, he was saying, yeah, whenever I was learning how to chart, every time, you know, like one of
At
the
a new high
analysts would
payout
post a chart, yeah, the analyst would post a chart and then they'd say a flag and then he would draw that on his chart. And it's not necessarily copying,
yes,
it's just, yeah. And he would be like, oh, so that's how, you know, like the flag feels to draw. And you know, I was like, wow, no,
exactly.
that's great. And he's like, I hope you don't get offended. I was like, no, I was like, dude, please, like, you know, this is fantastic. Like yeah, no, that's a smart idea. And then it's just, you're getting used to just the motions and even just like drawing like a horizontal line for a support or resistance, right? You're just getting, it's all about practice. And I thought that was a really good idea. So if you guys are, you know, looking to learn how to chart, feel free, you know, that's feel
And
free to
don't
take
draw your
this.
flags
Yep.
on 1 minute or 5 minute. They're
Oh yeah.
really designed to be used on the daily. 30
Hmm.
minutes I'll use patterns all day long, but they're not the first thing that I look at.
Right.
They're a fourth or fifth or sixth, I don't know, somewhere in there. They're way out there. It's the patterns that are the way they describe them is because of it's a way to conceptualize what the price action is. So learning to read price action,
Absolutely.
the pattern confirms how you're reading the price action. The more you can practice it, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. As long as you're not taking our charts and then like, posting them out on FinTwit being like, I did this,
Right.
that would not be cool.
Right.
But a chart is a chart and a flag is a flag. And one of the great
Exactly.
things that I like about us is we'll throw our charts up and the pattern's the same. Like the
Hmm.
downtrend from yesterday when I was like, can't take anything here because of this downtrend. And then I had like 4 other people DM me and be like, I have that exact same thing on my chart. I'm like,
Right.
that's what I want to hear is that you're
Exactly. Hmm.
looking
Seeing
at it
what
and learning from it. Yeah,
Yep, seeing what we were seeing too, and you're like, oh wow, yep. And then yeah, and then you guys, it all kind of just falls in place after that. Everything else, all the pieces of puzzles, you know, it's just they all start falling into place. It's all about, you know, that this goes back to what we were always talking about, and buying yourself another day. You know, there's always going to be trades to take. You don't have to rush into anything. If you're not seeing, you know, if say we're all like calling out calls, we're all everybody's making money, you know, there's days like that, and then you're just not seeing anything and you haven't entered anything, that's totally fine. You know, that's totally fine. And then maybe
absolutely fine.
going to tip that TA at night, don't try to rush into a trade or don't FOMO if and just or follow blindly just because everybody else is like, oh yeah, like we're all, everybody's making money, right? But hey, if you're not seeing, then it's really important to kind of just sit out and maybe wait till the end of the day and then hit the charts, hit the charts, hit the TA, like, okay, what happened today? And then, oh, okay, this happened. The next time we have a day like that, then you'll know. But there's, just it's really key to not FOMO. You can't FOMO.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And somebody asked me, like, what do they do, if you've got a professional trader, or you like, because I know some pretty good sized traders. And if they're professional traders, they would be immediately fired if they FOMO'd. There's no
Oh
such
yeah.
thing as FOMO in
Nope.
professional trading. It's all business, period.
They'd be like,
End of
why the heck
discussion.
did you buy the
You
top?
don't go
Yeah.
on tilt. Yeah.
Hmm.
You don't go on tilt. You're answering to your risk manager like you're fired.
Oh yeah.
And
Oof.
so if you don't fire yourself, which means you continue to trade how you're trading, that's hand your daily transactions to your spouse.
Yep. We're getting a nice little push right here
And
too, so I'm about to exit
yeah,
queues. Sorry.
we're having a beautiful push here. We're at
Yeah.
the T+2 value area high.
Hmm.
T+2 high of the day, 41.55.25 is probably my exit on these ES contracts. I have to hop off. I've got a personal training session on Zoom right now, so I'm going to go sit in front of a computer and watch somebody exercise, which is unfortunate, but
Oh yeah.
some
Hey.
of them decided to stay home, and then I could still like type things every once in a while. So
Okay.
I will update you guys. And I wasn't sure if you recorded this or not, but
I
if
did.
so, then we'll get that posted. Awesome. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. And welcome home. And
Thank
I
you.
will tell you that every time I take a little trip like that, what I started with, but I'm really glad this was a great discussion. Oh, I have one
Hmm.
more thing to add.
Yeah.
If you're a new trader, you should not be in multiple positions.
Oh
You
yeah.
cannot manage
That's
multiple positions
that.
well. So
Yep.
don't be trying
Hmm.
to manage five. I
There's
manage five,
even yeah.
but
There's
I've got
even
21 years.
yeah. There's
Right.
even times where I'm like, okay, I'm in two plays. That's enough for now. Because you don't want to put all of your marbles into the same basket, right? Because then if that basket flips, then there go all your marbles. So yeah, just to
And you're going to not make
keep
as
it
much
simple,
money on all
stupid
of them
there.
unless
Yeah.
you're
Oh yeah.
fast.
Oh yeah.
So
You're
one
gonna be
trade,
losing money at the top. Like you sell one, you got to go back out exactly. And then
yep, for sure.
right.
Okay,
That's a
we'll
good
see you
point. Yep.
guys. I'm thinking, are you going to come back and stream with me this afternoon?
Yes. Yes. I'll be
I was
here.
thinking power hour.
Yep.
Okay,
Power hour would be
perfect. After
cool.
lunch, I'll shoot you a DM.
Okay.
Cool.
Sweet.
Okay,
Sounds good.
see you guys
Enjoy
later.
your sessions. Yep.
All right. Thank
Cool.
you.